So, dear participant, we are starting our webinar. Good afternoon to one and all. First of all, I am thankful to the management, Anjumana Islam, and Director Dr. Moiddin Ahmad, MS Sabu Siddiq College of Engineering, to permit this webinar. Here, first of all, I request Professor Asif Ansari to say the few verses of Holy Quran, because as a part of tradition we start every program with the Holy Quran. So I request Asif sir to start.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
On behalf of organizers, I would like to introduce first of all our trust and then engineering college. We, the Anjuman Islam Trust, was founded in 1874 by Justice Badruddin Tayyabji, first Indian judge of Bombay High Court and the third president of the Indian National Congress. The trust is presented by leading personalities, especially from Maharashtra, and is a symbol of secularism and national integration. Approximately 1 lakh students learn in more than 95 institutes run by the Anjuman Islam. I request our organizer to play the video introducing the uh, trust as well as the college. Meanwhile, I'll be giving the details. Regarding the institute, the college was established in 1984 with a definite vision and mission. The college is managed and administered by Anjuman Islam as a sole trustee by the Bombay High Court. We are happy to introduce ourselves as a pioneer in technical and engineering education and has the various discipline. The institute imparts education with a vision to encourage, enlighten, and prepare all its students to be useful citizens who will contribute to make a prosperous, healthy, and a strong nation. In case of the placement from our institute, top companies that visit the campus regularly include Tata, Mahindra, Infosys, Jio, TCS, and many others. The highest salary package offered to one of our students has been 32 lakh per annum in the recent past during placement. Our alumni occupy the top positions in various companies all over the country and the rest of the world. We are happy to announce that we have an intake capacity of 420 students in various disciplines such as automobile engineering, civil engineering, computer engineering, electronics and telecommunication, information technology, and mechanical engineering, each of each of 60 seats and having a total intake of 420 seats. I request all of you to meanwhile visit our website and explore the trust, unique trust in the India and as well as the college. We,
I would
we myself, in charge principal Dr. Ganesh Kame and vice principal and HOD civil engineer Jair Khan and my coordinator Asif Ansari and Shabir Burhanwala welcome to the webinar come workshop on rule of thumbs for analysis and design of steel and RCC structure by an international resource person, engineer Hemant Gore, who is a technical lead in Petrofac. Friends, Design of RCC and steel structure involves many stages such as load calculation, analysis, and design. To start with any design, it is very essential to know preliminary sizes of the members. Many times, in early stages of projects, are often asked how large structure element will be before they get chance to perform the necessary computations. So in today's webinar, we'll get an opportunity to learn or know many rules of thumb to estimate the approximate sizes of the structural element. Before proceeding to the webinar, because civil engineering department is going to organize this webinar, I will request Professor Zair Khan to introduce about the Department of Civil Engineering in MS Abu Siddiq College of Engineering run by Anjumana Islam Trust.
Hello, uh, good afternoon, one and all. I welcome you all to this webinar come online workshop on rule of thumbs for analysis and design of steel and RCC structures. Department of Construction Engineering was established in 1984. Department of Civil Engineering was started in the year 2001 with its 12 versatile full-time permanent faculties. The department provides high-quality teaching and drive the mind of the students towards higher study and research. The department strives to make students identify the practical solution to the current industry problems. The department faculties are not only instructors and guides to the students, they also act as mentors and counselors to the students. The department tries to develop technical and leadership skills and entrepreneurial aspirations among students so as to create jobs in our society, keeping moral and ethical value in mind. The department has faculties who are advisors on the boards for various interviews conducted by the government. The department extends help to university as syllabus revision proposals and drafting. Some of the faculties are external referees for master level projects and PhD thesis evaluation. They are expert speakers at various national and international conferences and have given expert lectures at various institutes. Our students are university rank holders and grade pointers and competitors among various technical events organized at national, state, and intercollegiate level. Our faculties and students publish technical papers in international and national peer-reviewed journals. Our students are achievers in design competition held at state level. Our students have competed national design competition and achieved first and second prize for the consecutive 17th and 18th national award by Einstein, Kolkata. They are not only good at technical level, but they are also inclined towards sports activities. Our alumni occupy high levels in good companies and always attached to the department. They are always ready to provide any kind of aid that can be extended to the institute. We have organized two FDP in the year 2019 and 2020 on intellectual property rights and professional ethics and corporate social responsibility, respectively. The department also publishes a newsletter, Tamir, to highlight the departmental achievements and activities. We are concerned towards environment, and cleanup drive is consistently conducted to the department every year from 2010. Swachh Bharat, Swachh Pakhwada, and Jal Shakti goals are absorbed by the department. Efforts are conducted with the department to achieve these goals. Last but not least, the vision of the department is to be recognized as a department to develop responsible civil engineers with high technical knowledge and integrity to contribute towards development of ethical and sustainable world. I once again welcome you all. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Without taking much time, I would like to introduce our today's speaker, Engineer Hemant Gaur. He is an international research person, technical lead in Petrofac. He is MTech from IIT Mumbai, ENP, and MI Chartered Engineer, Institute of Structural Engineer UK, committee member of UAE Local Group of Institution of Structural Engineers UK, Hemant Gaur is working in leading EPC contractor Petrofac as technical lead. He has received Petrofac prestigious EVE award, and he stood third among more than 7,500 engineers appearing in the gate. He has inspired youth with a technical and leadership talk at leading universities like IITs. He is a chartered engineer and he has contributed for successful design and engineering of civil complex structure for major projects in Petrofac. So, welcome, Engineer Hemant Gaur, and I hope that all the diversified participant, which are from industry as well as academic students, everyone will definitely enjoy this webinar. So, I this webinar to Engineer Hemant Gaur. Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sir. Thank you to all the faculties for arranging in a short time. I remember quote of our late past president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Teaching is a profession that shapes the character, caliber, and future of an individual. So at this moment, I salute all the faculties of this oldest and prestigious institute, which has worked hard to come up with innovative ideas during this tough time. I am a storyteller. I love telling story. I consider all the participants who have connected with us today live on this panel as an ant who are preparing for the winter. This is a time where we are accumulating our knowledge in the form of food, which will be useful when we join a professional organization to deliver excellency. With this, I will deliver my talk. I will share my experience and knowledge gain, which will help you to get your first job. Or when you are on a job, it will help you to solve your challenging problem. Your dream will be to become a design engineer who will design the challenging assignments, bridge, industrial structure, tall buildings. You may become a highway engineer or a geotech engineer who will be working on different tools to come up with a solution. Few of you will be interested in turning the drawings into real life structure. We call construction engineers. And few of you will become project managers, project management consultants. You may join government organizations who will bring the project infrastructure project for our country. This presentation will be helpful for all the dreamers who want to serve as a civil engineering profession. I will break my talk in different principles. So the first principle which we will discuss now, what makes a winning team? When we want to transfer a load, we use a girder or a truss. Left-hand side shows a girder which transfer a load through flexure and shear. What happens in a girder? I will take example of a cricket team. In a cricket team, if you have a good batsman and a good bowler, but remaining 9, they don't contribute. It will be like a flexural member. Here, only extreme fibers are stressed. But if you want to spend longer, if your dreams are big, then all the members should be stressed to equal level, which comes in a truss where the action is transferred through axial compression or a tension. So whenever we have a long span structure, The solution is a truss where we go for tension and compression. I always connect our structure with life. So in a team, we require a composition which can take tension in the cohesion. Here we can see live example. If you want to span 100 meter, 50 meter, we go for a girder. But if you want to span beyond 250, 400 meter, like we have a Worli Bandra sea link bridge, we go for a cable stayed where the load is getting transferred by axial tension and compression. Same way, engineer have developed truss tube system for tall buildings. If you want to build 30, 40 story building, we go for a shear wall, coupled shear wall, core wall. But if you want to span, to reach bigger height, we go for truss tube, where the forces are getting transferred through axial compression and tension. So this is the first principle. When you want to make a winning team, all members should be stressed equally. So if your dreams are big, you make a team which all the members will be taking stress equally. So now we will move to the second principle. Optimized form is where you do work minimum. In this example, I want to carry a load W to the support. I have a span L, and this load I want to transfer. I have created a truss. The members in blue color, they are in a tension, and the members in a green color, here we can see, they are under compression. I have a mid-span W load, which I want to carry to the support. These two members, which I have highlighted, they don't take any force. They are like, sometimes in a truss, we have a zero member forces. So they are zero member force. During 17th century, early days of engineering, we didn't have a branch of civil mechanical. They were philosophers, Newton, Maxwell. So they wrote certain philosophy. During that time, Maxwell wrote a theory where he told, when you have a truss, you do sum of force in a tension member into tension member length. So here we have 5 members, they are under tension, and 5 members under compression. So you bring together tension members, compression members, you do summation, and if that sum comes less, which we call work done, that structure is the most economical. I wanted to verify, as an engineer, we civil engineer, I believe, we should have a 3C, curiosity, commitment, and continuous lifelong learning. So I took this problem. The only variable in this figure is I kept my span fixed, depth of a truss fixed. The only thing I could change was a ratio of this two member in a blue color and green color, which is A over B. I did few iterations to find out which ratio will do minimum work. This is the first principle. When we want to create a structure, if it does a minimum work, it is most economical form. So I did analysis in a analysis tool. This is my problem, a span of 4 meter, a lever arm, which is a depth, 2 meter. 5 members, they went in compression. 5 members, they went under tension. And what Maxwell told, if I have a force in member 2, I will multiply member 2 length, force into length. So the members which are in tension, I will bring them together. 2, 4, 11, 7, and 9. I will do sum. And I will, same way, compression member 1 force into member 1 length. Member 6 force, member 6 length. So we have two sum. That structure is amazing. It is optimum. So let me share with you outcome of this research, like this problem. I took 3 trial ratios. First was A over B as 1.543. Second, 1.618. Third, 1.752. And I will start noting down the forces in the member and length. I applied 100 kilonewton point load at the center. Let me share with you first analysis outcome. So first analysis we did with the ratio A over B 1.543. Member 1 length was 1.761. Force in that member, which was under compression, 44 kilonewton. And when I multiply 44 with 1.761, the number which comes 77.545. I did same exercise for remaining 4 members in compression. I found their sum. Sum came 275.202. Same thing I will do with members in tension. We had 5 members in compression, 5 members in tension. So we did this exercise with the members which were under tension. 2, 7, 4, 11, 9. Their length and forces in them. So now here, like since the forces, tension, like in some software, they show negative and compression positive. So sign is not important now because we have accumulated all the tension member together, compression member together. So now we found the force into length sum again 275. I went forward for the second trial with the ratio A over B 1.618. Same exercise for 5 members in tension and 5 members in compression. And we came up with the sum as 274.9788. The number before, it was a 275. Now it has been reduced compared to before. So now our truss is doing minimum work compared to the work it did before. The third ratio, which I took 1.7, the work done increased 276, and the tension member also 276. Now let us summarize all the 3 results. We did 3 trusses with 3 different ratios: A over B 1.543, A over B 1.618, and A over B 1.752. And we came up with amazing result. When the ratio was 1.618, the work done is a list. Like we did sum of work done in a compression member, work done in a tension. Like Maxwell, he didn't define it as a work done. He defined force into length. Force into length. And you will be curious to know what does 1.618 means. We learned in our first year computer science course. The computer teacher told us to write an algorithm which gives us a Fibonacci series, which is 1, 1, 2, 3, 2 plus 3, 5, 5 plus 3, 8. So when you continue doing this Fibonacci series, the ratio of 2 adjacent numbers, bigger number over smaller number, it comes 1.618, 1.618. And the structural engineer who created our body, when you see your fingers, you try to bend in this shape, the ratio of this length over this, it will come 1.618. This over this, 1.618. So this means the one who created our body, he was a true structural engineer. He wanted us to do minimum work. Now you will be curious to know how we can apply this knowledge in our structural engineering. Bill Baker, who designed tallest building, he utilized this angle for his bracing, because when you create a truss with a bracing angle which will give a golden ratio, it will do minimum work. Many structural engineers, I want to tell you that you always can connect mathematics with structural engineering. If you create a structure which is a beautiful, elegant, it will be economical, it will be optimum. So when you come to industry tomorrow, connect your learning at university. What we learn at college is a 2 to 5%. I remember when we design foundation, we assume load weight of a foundation is 5 to 10%. So what we learn at university is 5%, 2%, but it is a foundation which will make us a true engineer. So keep whatever we learn at university, different subject, it will be a foundation for our future. And the structural engineer who created our body, the complete body parts, if you see, it has 1.618 in our body. And as a structural engineer, we can connect significance of 1.618 with work done. Now, I will present a slide which will show you how this Maxwell, who developed this theory in 17th century, fourth year student will remember this equation. Work done in a truss is F square L over 2AE, where F is a force in a member, L length of a member, A cross-section area, and E Young's modulus. If we rearrange, we make F over A, F. So F over A is a stress in member. So if you stress all the members to the same level, and stress divided by E, material property, it will become a constant. So we can find F into length, that will be constant. So this can be proved through our learning of work done in a truss. So that was my second principle of shortest load path theorem. So when you get assignment, you want to come up with the optimum solution for a truss, you make alternative scheme. Now you will be asking me, here you didn't consider slenderness ratio, net area, because when we design a truss, compression member will be designed based on the compression capacity is governed by slenderness ratio, L over R, and tension net area. So first, this gives you a form of a structure which will be a most economical, which doesn't require area or definition of elasticity at the beginning. Shortest load path theorem given by Maxwell. Now I will jump into the third stage. Design projects, they have 3 stages. The first stage, concept design, which is we call CD. Second, preliminary design, where objective is to size beam, column, foundations, lateral load resisting system, and develop drawings which we can float for a tender, and contractors, they can come forward for their bid. So the preliminary design stage is a stage where you broadly finalize your bill of quantities, material, MTO. And once the contract is awarded, the contractor needs detailed engineering drawing through which he can perform execution. He can build the complete structure. So that stage we call detailed design. In oil and gas industry, the preliminary design is called front end engineering design, field. So these are the 3 stages for design of a project. And design process, this flow chart explains the design process. The first step is to understand a problem. Like we want to build a bridge for a given span. What are the site constraints? If you want to create an industrial set, what is the height, span? Then we finalize structural form. We want to go ahead with a truss or a cable supported structure, different structural form. Then the second step is initial sizing of elements, beam, column, bracing members. Once we have geometry and initial sizes of a member, we put this information in a 2D or 3D simulation software, apply load, boundary conditions and constraint. Once we receive computer simulation results, should we trust whatever computer gives? No. We should verify our result with hand calculation. We should understand, does action and reaction match? If you have applied a gravity load, then summation of horizontal forces should come 0. So this type of check will give us a confidence that yes, we have equilibrium, which we call Newton's third law. We check deflected shape. And by simple hand calculation, we can calculate bending moment, shear, or tension or compression forces in a member. And that last stage, the last stage is about designing that members. It may be RCC, steel, pre-stressed concrete. So using the principles, allowable stresses, stress strain diagram, we finalize our reinforcement or pre-stressing tendon or steel profile. And the final stage is to give sketches to the designer who will develop drawings. So this is a complete process which is used in engineering firm for execution of detail engineering design. Structural design is about 3S: strength, serviceability, and stability. So with strength, I mean the members should be, the member provided they should be strong enough to resist the actual forces. So we check utility ratio. Members can go in flexure and shear, torsion, combined axial flexure and shear, and combined flexure and shear. Combined flexure and shear will come in tank, where we have a ring beam supporting a tank. So we must understand how the action is getting transferred to the foundation. The second check, which is serviceability. Our deflection should be within acceptable limit. Because we may be putting some brittle material on beam, and if it deflects more than allowable, that brittle material will crack or it will damage. So the serviceability check. Crack width we perform for water retaining structure. So to ensure water tightness, crack width check required for water retaining structures. Sway. Like in a tall building, we have a height over constant to be checked for a sway requirement. Vibration. If there is a human movement on a bridge or a floor and frequency of our leg movement matches with the structural movement, then we will be having a phenomena which we call a resonance. Here I will connect you with my real life situation. See, in a family, if frequency of husband and wife matches, then there will be a resonance. So small signals sent by my wife, I will understand. Do we need resonance in structure? No. Because what will happen with the resonance? Application of small load, it will get magnified and it will damage our structure. So that's why we have a damping in a structure. We call a damping. The third thing which we perform, stability. We check overturning, sliding, lateral raking, and uplift. So these 3S which completes our structural design: strength, serviceability, and stability. How we provide lateral stability in a building? Lateral stability in a building can be provided by three forms. Like the leftmost figure shows steel brace system which acts as a truss to take lateral loads generated due to wind and earthquake. Middle figure, it shows moment frame connection. The lateral loads are getting transferred through flexure and shear. The last figure shows a shear wall system where shear wall resists the lateral load. So to provide lateral stability in a building, industrial structures, we depend on a braced bay, a moment or a portal frame, or a shear wall. Now I will take you to the steel design rule of thumbs for steel design. The steel profile which are available around world, they are European section, British, American, Indian, and Japanese. European section for beam, they like when we think about beam, it is I. So the European sections are I, PE, AA, A without any acronym, O and V. And there will be a depth of that section. So if I have IPE A 200, 200 will denominate its depth. A then E. I have arranged IP section in increasing order of their weight. So IPE AA will be the lightest section and IPE V will be the heaviest section. British sections are called by universal beam, in short UB, and then we have a depth into weight of that section. American sections we call W, depth into weight. Depth will be in inches and weight in pound per feet. Indian profile which we use now, IS code has come up with a new standard, IS 12778, which gives narrow parallel flange beam, NPB. Before we were using ISMB, LB, which was for light beam, LB, WB. And Japanese sections are called by H, and then they give depth, width, thickness of web, and thickness of flanges. So these are the few sections which are used in international projects. Indian NPB sections are matching with European IP sections. Here are few profiles which we use for a column. What happens in column? Columns are a flexural member which requires a slenderness ratio equal in either axis, because the compression member design will be governed by its compression capacity. So if it should be have close to equal radius of gyration about both the axes. And the sections in European, so we call H. For beam it was IPE, and for column HE. British section we call universal column, UC. American, again we have a W only. And Indian section, the new standard has brought wide flange parallel beam. In short, we call WPB beams. So these are about beams and column profiles. Why we require thumb rules? Because thumb rule helps us to provide budgetary estimate verify our computer results and preliminary sizing when we begin our computer simulation. The first thumb rule which I want to bring is flexible member, they govern by deflection, and deflection requires moment of inertia. First thing which is required for a deflection is a moment of inertia. So you want to know moment of inertia of a profile. If I have selected depth of beam based on span over depth ratio, in an RCC we use 7, 20, 26. So you have decided depth of a steel beam, which is, if I have a simply supported beam, in steel I can go 22, 23. So I have D. I want to find out its moment of inertia. So the moment of inertia, if you want to find out quickly without looking into the steel table, it will be approximately D square into weight of that profile over 4.7. Now, how you remember 4.7? We got freedom in 1947. So to remember 4.7 is easy. So you put in this formula depth in centimeter, weight in kg over meter, and you get moment of inertia in cm to the power 4. We will use this quick rule to find out what is the weight of beam required to carry moment m in the next slides. But remember, like if someone asks you quickly, can you tell me? Let me show you this example with one problem. NPB, I selected NPB 450 into 190 into 77.57. So my beam depth is 450 mm, width 190 mm, and weight 77.57 kg over meter. In that formula, I need depth in centimeter, so I convert it from mm to centimeter. Weight we require in kg over meter. Putting in that magical formula, depth square into weight over 4.7, we came up with a moment of inertia 33,421. When I look into the table which is given by IS, the moment of inertia of this section is 33,743. We are very close. Like I remember my boss always telling me, Hemant, we structure engineers, if we are close, we are not scientists, we are engineers. So if we are close to a result by 2 to 5%, it's okay. But when we make bigger assumptions should be good. As we work in survey, we call whole to the part. So we make sure whenever we do structural design, our bigger assumptions, they are perfect. Second example, we have taken narrow flange parallel beam 600, 220, 107.56 kg per running meter. We converted depth into centimeter, 60 centimeter. We put that in that magical formula, depth square into weight over 4.7. And approximate moment of inertia came 82,386. When we look into the steel table, the moment of inertia given is 82,930. We are very close. So this was a formula which connects moment of inertia with depth and weight of the section. Now, can we develop similar relationship for wide flange parallel beam? Yes. In wide flange parallel beam, it comes d square weight over 4.4. One more thing I would like to tell. Moment of inertia which we learn in first year engineering mechanics. It is when we want to, like in I section, area is concentrated in flanges. So if I know area of flange into this distance, this area into distance square, I bring this also to the neutral axis. So area into distance square it will give transfer moment of inertia. So this formula we can verify, because what happens in I-beam, the load is taken by flanges in flexure. That if we have a simply supported beam, top flange goes under compression and bottom flange under tension. And we have a lever arm which acts between them to take that moment. So always moment equals to force into lever arm. So you can verify the curious students, they can come up with the background of this equation. For H section, the formula becomes, because H section, we will verify our formula by taking one WPB beam, which is 200, depth 200, width 200, and weight 61.29 kg over meter. Depth square into weight over 4.4. So approximate major moment of inertia is 5,572. If we see the steel table or IS 12778, the moment of inertia is 5,696. We are very close. Another example, WPB 300 by 300 into 100 kg per meter. We are very close with the steel table. So here we learned how we can connect moment of inertia with the depth of a section and weight in kg over meter. The second thing which is used in steel design, in a truss, or we have to check slenderness ratio. Slenderness ratio, we learned, it is effective length over radius of gyration. So for I section, approximate radius of gyration will be 41% of depth, or 0.41 d. And radius of gyration about minor axis, it will be 22% of b, 0.22 b. For H section or WPB, we have major radius of gyration 0.435 and minor radius of gyration 0.25 b. Now we will jump into a selection for a beam based on working moment. Till now, if you have any questions, our faculties, they have floated form for the questions. Sabir sir? Hello? Hello, Sabir sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am here, sir.
Sharing their questions also, if they have.
Yes, sir.
So we will move forward with our presentation. So we have seen how we can come up with a major moment of inertia, radius of gyration. The third, the most important thing in the steel design is a deflection criteria. If we know the working moment M at midspan, span of a beam, and the initial estimate for a depth, the weight will be 85 ml over depth square. This relationship is developed for deflection criteria of span over 360. So if you have, let us put this equation.
Sir, the question answer form will be given to them after the webinar, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So here we will find out what section we should select for our beam. So my span was 8 meters. I had a uniform distributed load of 20 kilonewton per meter. So my midspan moment, which we can calculate WL square over 8, 160 kilonewton per meter. Initial size of a beam, which we calculated based on span by depth ratio, 40 centimeter beam I selected. So beam which I have to select from steel table, I can find out from 85 ml over d square. So here we put moment in kilonewton meter, span in meter, and depth in centimeter. So I got a section of, I will require 68 kg over meter. So I can select from my steel table a beam 400 into 180 into 66.3. So now you may be having question, okay, if we have a crane supporting beam which requires a deflection criteria of span over deflection as a 500. So we have to just magnify this formula by 500 over 360. So you can find out for different deflection criteria. This one is for span over deflection as a 360. So if you have a crane supporting beam, you can modify this formula for other deflection criteria. So weight of a beam is 85 mL over d square. 85 into moment, which will be a working moment for which you want to satisfy deflection criteria. It will not be a limit state combination moment. This will be the moment which you want to satisfy deflection criteria, working moment, into span over d square. Now we will see if from strength criteria, if you want to find out weight of a section which will require to take the flexural stresses which are developed in a compression tension, then weight of a section will be 14 m over d. And for high strength steel, which is 355 MPa yield strength, it will require a lighter girder 11 m over d. We have done one assumption in this formula. We are considering the compression flange is fully restrained. Like steel is good in tension, but when compression comes, it buckles. And always in a beam, the governing criteria will be deflection and unrestrained compression flange length. So in this formula, we have considered the compression flange is fully restrained. And if we want to make a truss is like a cricket team where all 11 players, they contribute. All are stressed to the same level, having a 5 bowler, all 10 as an all-rounder, and the one who is behind the wicket inspires everyone. For truss, we require 17 m over d, and for high-strength steel, 355, 14 m over d. So m will be a moment which will be for, here also a working moment we have considered. Now, we will jump into the formula to calculate quickly deflection of beam. For uniformly distributed load, we know the deflection formula, pi WL raised to 4 over 384 EI. And if you have a single point load, so there are so many formulas. When you enter into engineering, do you want to remember all the formulas? No, just if you have some magic formula which will give deflection for all the type of beams. Very close. It will not be accurate, but it will be close to the result. Then that magic formula is ml square over 10 EI. Now you don't have to worry about a point load with a deflection, which is a WL cube over 48 EI, or a 2-point load, or a 3-point load, 4-point load, or a continuous beam. You just calculate a moment at a midspan, span of a beam, and flexural rigidity, which we call E into I, and your deflection becomes ml square over 10 EI. You can verify this formula by putting, like if you have a simply supported beam, moment will be WL square over 8, and finally we get close to 5 WL raised to 4 over 4 EI, 384 EI. So the magical single formula for getting deflection is ml square over 10 EI. Like industrial structures, how we build, we can have 3 systems. We call post and a beam system, where our columns are fixed at base and beam simply supported, a fixed base system, and a pin based frame system, where our base is pin connected. This will be a fixed connection. And if you want to span a longer, if your rings are big, your spans are big, then we just convert our beams and columns into lattice truss. So we make a truss frame or truss structure. Like if your span is in the range of 20 meter, 12 meter, we go for a box section, I section or H section. But if your spans are big, we can make a lattice girder structures. And IS code has a special publication. If I remember, it is SP 47, which gives a table for design based on lattice members. When I saw like structural design had a 3S: strength, serviceability, and stability. We covered one more criteria which came under serviceability. It was vibration. I told we should not create resonance in a structure. So we have to make sure like the force which is acting that frequency and structure frequency does not match. So each like individual, we have our own nature. We are rigid or flexible. Same way, structure based on its stiffness, it may be, it's a frequency will decide is it a rigid or a flexible. So if you want to calculate quickly what is the frequency of this beam, you apply your working load and find out deflection. And frequency will be 18 over square root of delta. Delta will be in mm. You can quickly find out frequency of your beam. So this will be useful when you are making a floor where people are walking or dancing. So like normal human walking frequency is 3 to 5 hertz. So just we have to make sure our structure frequency does not fall into this frequency. You may have heard about Olympic Stadium Bridge in UK, where they had a problem with this resonance, and they provided a damping to kill that problem. So frequency calculation plays a big role. Now we will see for different RCC buildings, if you want to come up, the first step in a design is to decide what will be our floor system, because floor contributes around 60 to 70% of a weight in a building. So if your floor is an optimum, as we said before, if our foundation is strong, we can become a good engineer. Same way, when we start building design, the first step is to make an economical floor system. So the floors we can make one way, two way. For one way, we have this many options. We call solid slab and beam, flat slab with band beam, like in a mall or office where there is a depth restriction. We want to minimize the curtain wall glass facade. We want to minimize total height of the building. Then we go for band beams. Ribbed slab, when you want, like solid slab will be useful up to 4 to 6 meter. But if your span is big, then we go for a ribbed slab. It works similar to I-beam. In UAE, Gulf country, we call it as a Hodi slab. So you get in a market ready-made Hodi blocks, which will create void for in between two ribs. Ribbed slab, hollow core slab. When you want to make fast construction, we go for a ready-made hollow core slab, which will span 14 meter, 18 meter up to that. So you are minimizing work at site. Then the other solution which is used around world is metal deck sheet. Metal deck sheet we get in two forms. One we call shallow depth and deep deck. Deep deck will require support 8 to 9 meter. Shallow deck, it will require 4 to 5 meter supports. Tata took one of the UK's leading metal deck company, Chorus, and they have a handbook and details for metal deck flooring. Composite lattice girder. This was invented in Germany, where they use a 6 centimeter to 7 centimeter precast plank which has trusses, lattice truss inbuilt. You put between two beams and you can start pouring concrete on top of it. So you avoid any shuttering work, form work. And finally, if you want to span bigger, we have T-girders, which are pre-tension members. So here we can see 7 different solutions which can be used for one-way slab. Solid beam and slab, where we use span to depth ratio for continuous 26, flat slab with band beams, ribbed slab with beams. In Gulf we call Hodi blocks. Hollow core slab, which come in a depth from 25 centimeter to 45 centimeter. Metal deck seat, which come in depth of 4 to 8 centimeter. And when you want to span bigger without intermediate support, which we call deep decking, 22.5 centimeter and double T. Now we will see which are different solutions available for two-way slab. Beam and slab system, which we use generally for 6 to 7 meter. When our Ly by Lx is less than 1.75, 2, we call it is a two-way slab. Flat slab with or without drop panel, and sometimes we provide column head to kill the problem of shear, punching shear. And when we build hotel or big auditorium, we go for waffle slab, where the column spacing can be made 12 meter to 14 meter waffle slab. Like rib slab, the ribs were provided in one direction. In waffle slabs, it is in either direction. And nowadays, there is a solution which we call bubble slab, where we put thermocol circular bubbles inside to reduce weight of a slab, because the weight which is very close to the neutral axis, it doesn't play in role in flexure. So taking out that weight, if you like the bridge opposite to CST station, it is a voided slab. Like the first few, like 2-3 span, they are voided slab. So the voided slab are very common in bridges also. So these are the 4 solutions for two-way slab. Now, once our superstructure is ready, what are different solutions available to transfer that load down to earth? If we have good soil strata at ground level, we go for shallow foundation. And if we don't have a good, we go for deep foundation. In shallow foundation, again, if you have a good bearing capacity, I will give you a magical formula to find out quickly bearing capacity of a soil where you don't have a water table close. The soil report will give N value, which we call standard penetration test value. If your N value is a 20, then bearing capacity will be 20 ton per meter square. You can go ahead with your preliminary sizing with 20 ton per meter square. And if your water table is very close, then the bearing capacity becomes half. With N equals to 20 and water table at ground level, the bearing capacity will be 10 ton per meter square. If you have a cohesive soil which has Cu, then the bearing capacity we can take 2 times Cu. So if my cohesion is 100 kPa, my bearing capacity will be 200 kPa, kilopascal, which will be 20 ton per meter square. So these 2 formulas, and SPT value for sand will give you bearing capacity, and will be equals to your bearing capacity ton per meter square. It is ton per meter square. So if N value is 30, your bearing capacity you can consider approximately 30 ton per meter square, which is 300 kPa, kilopascal. If you have a weak soil and boundary, like sometimes our column comes between on a boundary wall, we cannot encroach into others' property. We go for a strap beam, which will transfer that unsymmetrical force by push-pull mechanism, or we call combined footing. In our books, we learn trapezoidal footing, combined footing, where we match action with reaction, like CG of a trapezoidal. So pad footing, strap footing, combined footing. If you have very weak soil and we want to put all the columns in a line, we call strip footing. And then finally, where bearing capacity is very low and we want to avoid uneven settlement, we go for mat foundation. And for a deep foundation, we have a two big solution we call displacement pile and replacement pile. The name suggests displacement, it will displace the soil. Replacement means you are taking out the soil and you are putting concrete inside. So displacement, the other name we call a driven pile, where we can use precast concrete, square, circular. The job which we are doing now in Russia, we have square precast concrete piles. Then we have steel edge section, because edge section will displace soil very less. So again, we have low displacement, high displacement piles. And bore piles, where we are replacing soil with a concrete, we have a three solution. CFA pile, which we call continuous flight auger, rotary drilling, chisel and baler. So these are broadly solution for our foundation. And one more solution which we use, yes, so these are the solution for floating foundation, like where we have an issue of a uplift, we go for floating foundation. Like in olden days, floating foundation is also used for some of the projects. If you have a like circular tank, then we call ring foundation. For a chimney, ring foundation, which is like another form of strip footing only. So these are a different foundation system for our structures. Now, as a structure engineer, we should connect different subjects together to come up with an innovative solution. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, he had a vision for Dubai to build a tallest structure. At that time, the tallest structure was Taipei 101, around 510 meter height. So he gave the structural design firm a problem, told, can you design a tower which has a height of 520 meter? And when they finalized the design, that 6 to 9 month period, the engineers in China, they were coming up with a taller structure, 600, 700. So now it was a problem for His Highness. He called the design team. He told, can you make a tower which will be beyond imagination of other countries? And he told, okay, let us keep the height of a tower secret and start working on this problem. Who is the biggest enemy when we consider a tall structure? The biggest enemy is a wind. So when, as a structure engineer, we should understand our enemy. The design team, they had a problem. They have to find out how they can kill like the wind. Like you cannot forget wind. Wind will be there. So this is a problem which will be persistent for a complete lifetime. So the only solution is we have to align our structure such a way we get minimum trouble from wind. When we learn at university, we have a subject called airport engineering. And the first parameter which is used in deciding the runway orientation is windrose diagram. So the windrose diagram is like predominant wind direction. So the structure engineers, they were knowing like about this wind engineering and airport engineering. So they aligned the Burj Khalifa, one of its nose, along the Dubai runway, because Dubai runway is known. So when you align, you are creating a lowest resistance. So now the wind which will be there, it is bifurcating and it is creating minimum demand. It doesn't require much demand, and the same structural configuration they were able to utilize. So when you enter into the real life engineering problem, try to connect all the branches of engineering. It may be transportation, geotech, fluid mechanics. When you connect all the branches of structure engineering, with structure engineering, you will always come up with a solution for all the problem. And the structure engineers which used a system which we call, it had a core at the center, buttress tube. They gave name, when we have to retain earth, we use cantilever retaining wall, and when our retaining height becomes more than 6 to 7 meters, we go for buttress wall, retaining counterfort retaining wall, buttress wall system, where the load path from cantilever, it moves to in a transverse direction as a one way. So when you connect all the subjects you are learning, the 2% which we do at university, it will help for remaining 98% of our success. Now, I will share one secret with you. We always depend on Google for searching information for our project. When you will enter into real life situation, the one source which you will depend for all the information is Google. But what happens with the Google? See, just I'm asking about durable concrete, durability concrete. It solves our problem within 0.63 seconds. But trouble is, it gives 65 million results. Do we have time when you will enter into a professional world? We don't have a time to go through all the results. And what happens with Google nowadays? The one who pays something to them, they will be in a top search results. So we want to make our search confined. We want to get information from a reliable source. So I don't depend on Google, just I will give Google to search in a leading American university. Now my results became just 250,000. Like from 65 million, I came into thousands. I know a professor from Stanford University who works in a concrete durability. So I went first into all the American university. I will make my search still confined. I will put stanford.edu. Boom. My result came from 250,000 to just 1,000. So now I can focus. I have reliable information. We can give clues like file type. I have to make a presentation. So I will give Google a second clue, which is file type. So they don't have any presentation available on their university website. I will change my search. I will see all the universities. So I got 7 results. So this slide shows how we can make our search smart in Google by telling Google, giving boundary conditions. Like what happens as a structure engineer, we give boundary conditions and restraints to our structure. Boundary conditions means support and restraints. Like if you have a slab which will reduce analysis equation. So here we are giving Google boundaries where to search. So you can tell Google you search in university or you want to search in IITB portal. So you put iitb.ac.in, IIT Kanpur. By sitting in Mumbai, you want to find out some information which is from Russia. Like when you search sitting in Mumbai, you will get all concrete durability related information from your neighboring part only. So you can tell Google, okay, please, can you give me information from Russia by typing site RU, Japan. If I want to search locally, since I am in UAE, all the UAE websites, they have an extension. Like we have a surname, Sheikh, Gore, same way, all the websites, they have a surname. So we put AE, site France. So if I want to make a search in France, FR, Hong Kong, HK, Iran, IR, or China, CN. So our site search becomes quick. We get information which we want. If we want to find out some information from government organization like RDSO or IRC, we can make our search site gov.in. UAE government, gov.e. File format clue we can give, PowerPoint presentation file. Suppose if we have a information, data, we can put XLS. This smart search helped me, like in 2009, 2007, 10, one of engineer told, can you give me list of consultants, contractors who are working in Dubai? He wanted to apply for a job. So all the consultants, contractors, they have to register with the Dubai municipality. So I thought okay, Dubai municipality may be having all the information on their portal. So I asked Google, list of consultants, file type, XLS, and site gov.e. Like this. Here I have given clue. So I gave that clue and I got that Excel file. So when you want to find out vendor or some information from some portal, always give clue to Google. Don't just put your search in Google box. Think like what clue you can give to Google. And then your search will become concise. It will be short and you will not spend your valuable time. Because when you on a project or an assignment, you want information quickly. I hope this will be useful. Other tools which are available nowadays on our smartphone, Computers and Structures Incorporation, which has developed softwares like SAP 2000, ETABS, SAP. They have applications for a smartphone which gives section properties for a different section. You can do built-up sections, Indian section, European sections, all are available. So CSI sections, this is one application which you can download on your smartphone, very useful. With this, I will summarize. We civil engineers, we do 3C. We collaborate, create, and we are conflict resolver. With this, I mean, when we want to design, build, we have to collaborate with architects, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, or government authorities, or maybe leaders of our country, IAS officers. We create, we make design. We make a design which are optimum. We think about tomorrow. We do sustainable design. Say, we have a limited resources. We have limited steel. We have limited concrete, cement, aggregates. So if we consume all today, what tomorrow civil engineers they will do? Yes, they will innovate new materials, new ideas, but let us make our earth green by making economical structure. And economical structure doesn't require more or aesthetic structure, as we learned in our second principle, shortest load path theorem. And we are conflict resolver. So what, like when we work on a challenging assignment, we are close to completion, and then there is a change required from a client. Like the Dubai Tower, Burj Khalifa, it was completely designed, and then they required it to be still bigger. And the 3C, which will take you up higher, they are curiosity, commitment, and continuous learning. So keep curiosity alive in you, like how the load is getting transferred, why this system has been used, support conditions. So that curiosity and commitment. So when you take some task, complete that task, because one task completed will create your reputation in the industry, and that commitment will give you a new task. And keep learning. And whenever we learn, try to keep habit of noting down what principles you learned. Now, with internet, all the presentation materials and videos are available. So create your own daily notes. Create an Excel file of learning, like which principle you learned. That will help you. Maybe after 15 years, you want to find out some formula. So when you have written in your handbook, it will help you. Like today we learned approximate my major moment of inertia, weight, d square over 4.7. So keep continuous learning. This will take the best and prestigious university students of this college to bigger height. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the session. So there are a few questions that the participants have asked. I would like to take just a few of them.
Yes.
There is one question asked from our colleague, Professor Ashutosh Dabli, sir, and he's asking, can we use the same formula for deflection with different restraints? Because the basic sketch shows simply supported and hinged, simply supported with hinged and a roller support.
To answer this, yes, the sketch was simply supported, but if you have a continuous beam, same formula will give you answer which is close to the final. Yes, sir has a question, like because when you have a fixed beam, say let us say same formula. If I have a simply supported beam, my moment is ml square over 8. If my beams are fixed, my midspan moment will become ml square over 24. So it is becoming 1/3. So the same formula will give you perfect deflection. Yeah, you can apply this formula for all boundary conditions.
Yes, sir. There is another question from another participant. He's asking that in the start, sir, you told about Fibonacci numbers.
Yes.
He's asking how to apply it with the members in truss. How it is done. Share with one example.
Yes. So I couldn't put that slide. Okay. Now, can you see my presentation? 1 minute. I will start sharing. Interesting question. Can you see my slide?
Yes, sir. We can see that.
Yes. So now, when we have a real life structure, here we have considered span. So in real life structure, what it will become? It will turn. I will turn it to 90 degree. Yes. So now what will happen? This will be my bracing angle. So like if we keep bracing angle, it comes around, like this will be your bracing angle required, not 45 degree. So I turn my beam into vertical. Like in a tower, we require truss in a vertical direction. So if we have a bracing system with this direction, it will give us optimum lateral load resisting system. May I request our participant to share email ID? So we will share an example which is for tall building bracing system. So this
yes,
is a
sir,
very, yeah, this is very interesting principle which we didn't learn in a college, university. I also came across this theorem by listening William Bill Baker, the structural engineer who designed Burj Khalifa. So he studied from IIT, Illinois Institute of Technology, and that institute they were doing this research on Maxwell's work on load path theorem, which is an amazing principle. Force bring all the tension members together, compression members together, force in a tension member into tension member length. You do summation and the same activity for compression. And when you sum both, that is a work done. And when that work done is a minimum, it is an optimal structure. So we will share with sir the work done, like how it is utilized for deciding bracing system for a tall building.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, for the remaining questions, I would like to request all the participants to please fill the question and answer Google form that will be shared with you on the email, WhatsApp, and it will become live after this session is ended. Sir,
Thank you, Shabir.
Sir, just we will
Yes, sir.
summarize. Yeah, I will just summarize our learning today. So we learned when we have a big dream, big span, the only reliable system is trust, where we are transferring our forces by axial. What happens in flexure and shear? Only extreme fibers are stressed. It is like a cricket team, only two players working. Then second principle which we learned about shortest load path theorem, Maxwell's shortest load path theorem. Then we learned about the design process, which are a lateral stability system, how to come up with a major moment of inertia by knowing weight and depth of the section, frequency of a structure, the weight of a truss required when you start the job, the deflection formula, which is ml square over 10 EI, and the weight of a truss 17 m over d. So where d was in a centimeter and m moment. And how the structure engineers they connected airport engineering to make one of the best structure on our earth, Burj Khalifa, which defines Dubai dream, dedication and determination. And the most important thing which we learned today is never depend on Google. You give clue to Google what information you need. Thank you.
Thank you, Shabir sir, and also thank you our today's eminent speaker, Hemant Gaur sir. Now I will request Shabir sir to say the vote of thanks, and then we'll finally end this webinar.
Yes, sir. Sir, first I would like to thank the great Almighty Allah Ta'ala, for giving us the inspiration and energy to conduct this work. Then I would like to thank the management of Anjuman Islam for providing us resources and motivation for conducting such activities. I would like to thank our esteemed speaker, Mr. Hemant Gaur sir, for such a wonderful seminar and all the knowledge that he has shared with us. I would like to thank our director, Dr. Moinuddin Ahmed sir, and our in-charge principal, Dr. Dinesh Kame sir, for providing us with motivation, support, and resources for conducting this wonderful webinar. I would like to thank our vice principal and HOD of Civil Department, Professor Zahir Khan sir, for his complete support during the webinar. I would like to thank my co-coordinator, Professor Asif Ansari sir, for his networking arrangement and certificate designing and distribution that he's going to conduct after the webinar. I would like to thank all the participants for patiently being with us during the webinar, and I would like to thank all the support staff who have been involved during the webinar.